All right, here we are. We are almost down to the final task, kind of, on this Delaney's Mustang here. We're gonna do the water pump now before I put the rack and pinion back in, because I want to top off the oil pan with oil and make sure it doesn't leak before I go through the trouble of putting all that back together. But I wanted to show this right out of the gate. So I need to drain the coolant, obviously, in the cooling system before I do the water pump, which I will show you. It's super easy to tell when it leaks through the weep hole. If you can see up there, you can see the orange marks where it's running out of the water pump and running straight down off the front seal here and leaking down off the front side of this upper pan. Yeah, she's dripping, but what I wanted to point out is, look at this nonsense. Someone obviously cracked the radiator here and just gobbly-gooked this sucker to try and make it seal. Oh, so we're gonna have to pull the lower hose to drain it. I'm gonna let her know she should probably get a new radiator. I mean, like, if it holds, it holds, I guess. I'm not confident that it is. It's leaking all kinds of things all over the place, but it's not too bad. I know she's a lot of money, so we're gonna roll with it for a while, I'm sure. But let's pull the lower hose, I guess, to drain this puppy. So I'm gonna get it down. We're gonna do that from the top side, and I'll just put a catch can underneath it. All right, here we go. So if you're doing this job, obviously use the drain cock, because yours is gonna be fine to drain the system. I gotta pull the lower radiator hose, so what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna pull this breather first, which, funny enough, I noticed this before. I have not touched this at all. Look at how nice and loose that band clamp already is. You can probably just take it right off, maybe do like one turn. Sheesh. Apparently some mechanic put an engine in this. Is the word on the street. Yeah, that, I didn't even need to loosen that at all. But they sure forgot a lot of things. So if you are taking this off, we're going to need to take this off to get to the water pump anyway. You'll press that little tab and slide it backwards, and then you can just break her free. Light, don't fall. Voila, just like that. And there we go. We can already see our water pump. This one should not be too shabby at all. Just got to yank that serpentine belt off. We can start unbolting. But in my case, I need to get to the lower coolant hose on this side of the radiator. I got my catch can there, so I'm going to fish some pliers down on this side and go ahead and break this hose loose. You're going to have to pull the hose off of the water pump anyway on the lower side, so I will show you this fancy tool that I got. That I'll have a link for that and the water pump up in the video and in the description below. So if you want to order from Amazon, wait a little bit. That really helps us out. If not, you can get all these things at your local auto parts store. But let me grab that tool and the pliers, and then I'll show you how it works and how easy it makes getting radiator hoses off. All right, so this is a custom homemade version of the tool I've been talking about, called a radiator hose removal tool. You'll see we welded in a giant extension, so we need it to be long. Funny enough that this is by far my favorite one at this length. But you essentially will just take it down, stick it under the hose with the point. This one might, I'm coming in at a bad angle. This one might actually be too long for this job. But you'll fish it in behind the hose, just like so, and then you just ream it around in a circle like that, and that will break the hose. That whenever it gets stuck, it'll break it free. And then, so you can hear all the fluid coming out. See how we just reamed her, just like that. Now I can reach out with my hand, and it should pop right on off of there, just like that. Yay! There's much rejoicing. Yeah. Now that we got that coming out, oh God, it's missing. I always got to make a mess. There's just no ifs, ands, or buts about it. I got to make a mess. And now we can take the belt off and continue getting to this water pump. So you'll need a 1/2-inch drive ratchet. You'll look down here. You'll see there's a little square right here to just put the ratchet in. So I'm going to need 2 hands to get this clicked in and lined up right, but that's essentially where you'll put it. On the loosen setting, and you'll just put it in. It's a 3/8 ratchet, not a 1/2-inch. So then you just crank it like that, and you'll flip the belt off the top of the alternator here. Once you've taken the tension off, make sure you note how the belt routes in the system. Yay! And now we can release. Another thing I like to do when I have the belt off is check the idler pulleys. So like that one's nice and smooth and good. We'll do the tensioner one is also nice and smooth and good. Hey, that's really nice. I don't even know what's going on out there. All right, now we can move to the water pump itself. So we got 3 hoses we need to take off. We got the lower hose here. We need to get the band clamp off of this really weird little thing they got going on here. I don't know why they would do it like that. And then there's one over on this other side for the heater core. So we will get that one off as well. And then we're ready to unbolt this puppy and get it off the car. All right, so you'll notice I pulled the coolant reservoir here. That is only because I felt like it'd give me a little bit more room. You do have to do this, but the lower hose tees off over to it. So I just took the 2 10 mils out. There's a 10 mil here and a 10 mil here, and the whole thing will just come off, and you can take the hose with it without having to pull the hose from the reservoir end and open up this space right here. Another thing I wanted to show you is on the heater hose down here, I've pulled the band clamp, but that hose is stuck, and you'll notice, unlike the lower one, there's not any room to get the removal pick in there. So I'm going to show you another trick. If you get some channel lock pliers, just get it set to where it's about even with where the hose will be, and then you'll grab it and then you'll just twist it back and forth to break it free that way. Oh, there we go. Cracked her free. Ow. Ow. Dang, still banged my hand doing it though. That drained out. Cool beans. All right, and the final thing. So I'm looking at that hose up there, trying to figure out what I'm gonna do there. I am gonna use a 15 millimeter. And I'm gonna take off this idler pulley, so that's not in our way anymore. So I'm just gonna fish my impact right up in here. It is a normal righty-tighty, lefty-loosey bolt. Sometimes they're right-handed thread. All right, and now that has freed up all the space we need on the top to get those band clamps off. Both of our lower hoses are off, and I moved the band clamp up on this hose and used my channel lock trick to break that hose free. So final step before we unbolt this puppy is I'm going to pull this pulley off. It's 10 millimeter bolts. So I'm going to use my impact and just slide it down in there. I don't know if you can see from here or not. My phone never stops ringing. Come on, baby. Oh no. I'm just gonna get this to break them loose since the fan's in the way. So a little trick there is you just start spinning it right as you drop the socket on, and it gives it a little bit of an impact kind of a functionality, and then it pops it right out of there. Whoop, whoop. All right, here we go. I have one remaining bolt left. They are 8 millimeter bolt heads. They go all the way around this thing, top and bottom. There are 12 total. My final one is here. This one here is a booger. You have to do that with a wrench, otherwise you have to pull this power steering line to get to it because it blocks it from the socket. But now I'm going to pull that final one off, and then we should be able to pop it free from the block and hopefully wiggle it off of that hose right there, kind of all in one unison. I will try and leave you rolling over here. Again, I apologize if you can't see much. Hopefully you can. This upper coolant hose might be in the way though. Yeah, it appears that it is. Dang it. Oh yeah, there goes the rest. There's the coolant out of the block. And it missed my catch can, of course. That side got it. So now I just got to fish it out and wiggle it out of that hose. Just like that. Hey! All right, we got the pump out. We are on the home stretch. This job is really not too bad at all. So what you're gonna want to do is get in here with a paper towel and wipe out all this coolant on these edges here. Get it all dried up. Then I'm wiping out all this nasty, nasty gummy stuff that was in here. I wonder if they were at some point were running like that head gasket fix stuff, and that's why it's so nasty. I don't know, but here we go. Get that light in a better spot. So what we're looking for here is just make sure no coolant runs down where our gasket surface is gonna seal. So we're gonna get this all cleaned up, soaked up, get as much coolant out of here as possible to try and prevent it from running down to our gasket surface. And then we're gonna clean this gasket surface as well, and we'll be ready to install. I like to use red Scotch-Brite and brake cleaner for that. I actually have a little air-powered Scotch-Brite disc that I'm gonna use. But I'll have a link for that, as well as the water pump and everything else in the video above and in the description below. But I'll show you what it's supposed to look like when I'm done. You basically just get the Scotch-Brite or a razor blade or paper towels and brake cleaner and just scrub, 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 scrub. You need it to be shiny, shiny metal before you put the new gasket on. All right, here we are with our clean surface. Sorry, I'm trying to get some light, but you'll see there's some coolant dripping down there. I need to get that wiped up. I'm gonna wipe out the inside here a little bit better as well. But we are ready to put the pump on. So what we're gonna do is I'm gonna hold the pump with the gasket on the back of it in place. You can also, I know people who will rub a little bit of RTV on the pump side and stick the gasket to it that way so it doesn't come off. If it gets horrible, that's what we'll end up doing. I've done it before, but we're gonna try and get it in there without that the first time. And you basically just put your bolts through to hold it in place, and then we'll fish it all in there as a unit, and we'll get them all finger started. And then once I kind of get it in place and finger started, I will turn the video camera back on, and I will go over the torque spec and the torquing sequence with y'all, and then we will be home free to put everything back together. Whoop whoop. All right, y'all, there she is. She is in position. The torque spec for the little 8mm bolts is 10 Newton meters. There is no sequence, so you can just work your way around. If you've never torqued anything before, I still like to go crisscross around to like spread the load, but make sure when you're done, you go back over every one of them and make sure that they all click or set off the torque wrench without turning at all. So if you get a little bit of turn out of one, it may loosen another one, so you just want to keep going until they all click and nothing spins. But there you have it. The water pump is in. I did also have to put a small layer of RTV on the back to get the gasket on. It was like folded up in the box, so it just kept wanting to like unfold the way it had sat forever. So I just kind of glued it to the back with that. So we're gonna wait for that to dry, but I'm gonna go ahead and button everything up. At this point, you just undo everything we've done to get here. And then if you've had to do the RTV, let it dry for a while, and then you can top it off with coolant. So I will pick up when we're at the coolant topping off stage. All right, I'm sitting here in the office and I forgot to shoot the follow-up video showing it running with the coolant bled, but you just top it off, let it warm up, burp down, and then I like to let it cool all the way down and then top it off again and do that cycle one extra time if you don't vacuum fill it. But in the case of this car, we got the pump changed, we got an oil pan gasket on it, it went with no leaks. But all the other problems we found along the way was a bit of foreshadowing. There's gonna be a lot more videos of this car coming up. Unfortunately, she had some major issues, so stay tuned if you want to see those, and hopefully this video helps somebody change their water pump. If it did, hit that thumbs up button and subscribe if you want to see more.